We have a phenomenal guest with us today who we've had the chance of getting to know over the past few months. Uh, would you like to introduce yourself, Vlad, and your project?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot for having me in this call and giving us the opportunity to introduce what we are building. And yeah, so my name is Vlad. I'm the co-founder of Diva protocol. It's a protocol to create and settle fully customizable derivative products. I will explain what derivatives are in a sec. And yeah, so we started building it, I don't know, 1.5 years ago, and fully focused on building that maybe over the last couple of months. And now we have just launched the testnet yesterday, so we'll also spend a few words on that at the end of the presentation. And yeah, what else? My background is in mathematics and finance, so I'm mostly doing Solidity programming and project management in Diva protocol, and yeah, supported by a great team that are contributing on all ends where help is needed. So
Nice. Yeah. I mean, so I think most people here or probably that are watching this will be semi-familiar with like derivatives.
yeah,
But basically, like what would be an example? Like which ones are you going to launch with, I guess, right out the door?
which derivatives?
Yeah.
If you're allowed to share me my screen, then I can briefly I prepared a few slides, so just to make it a little bit simpler for for the listeners. You see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think the term derivative, that might be a little bit intimidating for some people, but is like essentially it's pretty simple. So a derivative has basically two ingredients. It has an event, and then you have a payout that is linked to the outcome of the event. So the simplest example is a sports bet, right? So you can, if you bet on team A, if it wins, you get a payout of 1. If it loses, you get nothing. And yeah, now you can generalize that idea. So instead of a sports event, you can take, say, the Bitcoin price or anything else, right? Or some insurance event, say the house burns down, yes or no. So you can choose whatever event you want. And then on the payoff side, you can also, instead of using a binary one, so 0 or 1, all or nothing payoff, you can maybe choose something that is more linear in a certain range. And yeah, so that's kind of like the basic idea of what a derivative is. I mean, in traditional finance, there's a lot of terminology that is used among professionals, but I feel like that's probably the best explanation for people that just get started. And yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I can just ask you the easy question. So like, where does the Oracle fit in here? And
yeah, exactly. I wanted to come into that. So I wanted to briefly explain how Diva protocol works, how it allows to create these type of structures, and then basically where the Oracle comes into play, and briefly explain that. So basically how Diva protocol works is you deposit an asset, collateral, into a smart contract, and in return, you get the claim that is represented by two directionally reversed payoffs, basically, or legs. So you have a short and a long. So if you sum them up, you always get 1. So basically, if you deposit, say, 100 USDC, you get the long and the short side. So if you want to take out the 100 USDC from the pool, you just give both the long and the short side back, and you get your USDC back. Now, I mean, it wouldn't be fun if you do that, right? So what people want to do is they deposit 100 USDC, they get the short and the long side, and then they want to sell one side in order to gain either exposure to the upside or to the downside. And that's basically what Diva protocol is doing. Now here you have like a linear shape, right? But you can think of any other shape, binary or combination of binary linear. And in Diva, we have 4 parameters, which are called floor, inflection, cap, and gradient, which basically allow you or allow users to slice and dice these payoff patterns. And I will demo that in a sec. To come back to Nick's question, where the oracle comes in. Now, let's say you create a derivative on the Bitcoin price, right? On the Bitcoin price at the end of the year, for instance. So these positions, they need one input from an oracle. So someone needs to report what is the BTC value end of the year. So once we get there. And yeah, so, and I mean, for Diva protocol to function, this oracle part is extremely critical. So if this oracle part doesn't work, so if, I don't know, the oracle sends unreliable information and the payoffs for the short and long positions turn out to be wrong, users will lose confidence and will no longer use the protocol. So that's why, like, the oracle is really the key part. And yeah, we are super excited to work with Tellor on a solution that will actually provide the highest guarantee or give users the highest confidence that the values that are reported are actually accurate. And yeah, so that's kind of like how this Diva protocol works. And yeah, here maybe just a few examples what kind of payoff shapes you can produce just by moving these 4 parameters. So that's on the long side. On the short side, it's basically just mirrored. I can also briefly show you how this looks like in the app. And yeah, as a reference asset, it's also, we don't limit users to any specific assets. They can literally use anything. So it's sort of like a standard to create these derivative assets, and users can use anything they want to bet on or they want to create insurance on. So it can be like market prices of assets, but you can also create more exotic structures where you use, for instance, the ETH gas prices, the underlying, and use that to hedge yourself against rising gas prices. Or you can use the TVL in DeFi as the underlying. And yeah, so with this flexibility, you also need a good oracle that is able and flexible enough to provide all these inputs when users need them. And yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I have to ask you, like, you know,
yes,
why didn't you use Chainlink? Like, maybe I'm jumping the gun.
Yeah,
yeah. 3 slides ready at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. So we actually started looking into Chainlink, and the problem that we had with Chainlink was that it was incredibly difficult to get historical prices. So to get a historical price feed for these derivative assets. So in Diva protocol, when the pool expires, so these assets expire, the reporter or the data provider or the oracle has 24 hours to report the value as of the expiration date. And what we figured, in Chainlink, they have this concept of rounds, and it was incredibly difficult to translate it into timestamps, which the expiry dates are denominated in. And yeah, we basically gave up on that. And yeah, we're looking for a solution that was flexible enough to do that. And what we learned during that process was that a lot of oracles actually focus on providing real-time data, so the current value. And that makes a lot of sense where liquidations need to be done, right? So they rely on the most recent values, and I think that's where a lot of oracles focus on. But for prediction markets, there were not so many solutions out there that could offer something out of the box. And yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, well, I would hardly say that your solution was sort of out of the box.
Yeah, no, it was not. It was not. No, but something like I meant solutions
Capable.
out of the box, exactly, that would report historical prices. So
Right.
if you send a request, that's what I meant with out of the
Cool.
box.
Sorry, won't interrupt.
Yeah. So maybe I can spend. Let me maybe first show you what I just told, how it looks in the app, and then I will spend a few words on the Tellor Oracle integration, how we envisage this to be or to look like when we eventually launch the app on testnet. So this is some insight into our app where users can create derivative products. So here, for instance, I have a product on the USD price of Bitcoin, right? We have a few suggestions here, but theoretically, anyone can just, I don't know, tier B USD, define any other references. They don't need to stick with what we're proposing here. And then you also define at which point in time do we want to observe that metric, say, I don't know, end of July. So this part defines your event. You have a metric and you have the point in time at which you want to observe that. And here at the bottom, you define the payoff shape. So you basically, you as a user, you can say how the payoff should look like, as opposed to many other prediction markets you might know over Polymarket. They typically only offer binary payoffs. But for instance, for myself, I don't like binary because I don't know, just doesn't fit into my risk appetite. So I would probably go with something linear. But binary is also possible. It's just one special case. So you can, yeah, basically create any binary option, or you can go more crazy and create something very specific for your particular use case, something like a combination between the linear and binary. So now,
is there sort of a max leverage you can get on it?
Well, the max leverage is basically the binary, right?
Okay.
Exactly. So you can, yeah, you can control the leverage if you choose a very tight range. So here you're tracking Bitcoin in the range 20 to 21K. So it's kind of like a high leverage product. Yeah. So when you define this derivative product, then in a second step, now you basically, or the user needs to say, okay, who is supposed to report the final value when this pool expires or these assets expire. And I mean, right now for the testnet, we're just running like a test bot, but the ultimate goal is when we launch on mainnet later this year to have Tellor as the kind of like as the first integration on the Oracle side in this Diva app. Yeah, so basically you have these two steps where you define the pool, the Oracle, and then you actually create these assets, and then they will end up in your wallet as two separate positions. I'll quickly show you slowly. So for DEX, so basically you have the BTC, USD, the long and the short side, and then you would basically trade one side out to obtain exposure to one of the sides. So that's kind of like a high level overview.
Sure. And when you trade them, do you guys have like a built-in AMM or something, or do you guys just use an order book, or do you guys run that, or do you guys not even run that?
Yeah, exactly. So we are leveraging 0x protocol for that.
Cool.
So actually this app that you see is the first app that is built on top of Diva protocol. But in addition to Diva protocol, which is responsible for creating these assets and kind of like determining the payoffs when they settle, we also leverage 0x protocol for the trading part. So people to facilitate the exchange. And yeah, then when we go live, we will also use Tellor Oracle. So basically this app that you find here is a combination of free protocols to offer users, maximally decentralized solution. So none of the data that you see here is stored on any server. Sorry, I have to correct myself. We actually have 4 protocols. We also use the graph protocol. So all the data is indexed. So this Diva app that you see here is a combination of 4 protocols actually working together.
Super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe I can spend also a few words on the solution that we are building and why we went with Tellor Oracle in the end, and why it's like much better than, say, like a centralized approach. So so maybe I highlight the drawbacks of a centralized approach in our case, right? Say you have this Oracle that I just showed, this central Oracle, Diva. So now the problem with a central Oracle, you have a single point of failure. What if this Oracle, or what if the bot that is running on a server goes down, right? And the user doesn't notice that. Or what if there are a lot of pools that needs reporting? So this one single bot is basically queuing all the reporting. So there could be an event where there are too many pools that needs to be reported, and yeah, he just cannot make it. So yeah, a centralized bot is certainly not a good solution, or not a robust solution for Diva protocol to function properly. The nice thing about Tellor protocol is that basically anyone can report to report a value, right? So you don't have the single point of failure anymore. So reporters will see, okay, this pool needs reporting. They need the Bitcoin price as of the end of the year, for instance, right? And everyone can submit. So if one bot goes down, there are several other ones that have the possibility to submit a value and earn a fee. So from that perspective, it's much more stable, and you also don't have this queuing problem that you would have when you use a decentralized option. So yeah, overall, I think Tellor, yeah, is just a really great fit on the Oracle side for this Diva protocol. And yeah, but as Nick said, the integration was not out of the box. So it was not super straightforward. And this has to do a little bit with the fee mechanics. So how Diva protocol works is when an address gets selected as the data provider for a derivative, they are entitled for a 5 BIP fee based on the total TVL inside this pool. So I don't know if there is like 10K USDC locked in this pool to generate these short and long positions, then the reporter would get, what is it? Oh, better math. Was this $5 to report the value? Now you could imagine a case where, I don't know, there is 1 million or 10 million pool, and the fee to the reporter would actually be, I don't know, 500 or even higher dollars for just reporting one single value. And the challenge was that this could actually trigger like a wave of disputes on the Tellor dispute or in the Tellor mechanism, right? If reporters know, oh, there's a reward, or there's a possibility or chance to get like $5,000 to report a value, and you see someone already reported before you, and this guy might be eligible, right? You might start disputing each other, yeah, which may have like undesired consequences or delays. So that was a little bit the challenge, and we were thinking how to solve that part. And the solution that we came up with is that we cap the fees that go to the reporter at $10 for now. I mean, this is like an input we can agree on and also change over time. But let's say $10, and everything in excess will be sent to the Tellor treasury. So that's kind of like the current setup. And yeah, so the consequence of this logic is it's no longer sufficient simply submitting the value of the reference asset at expiration. So let's say the Bitcoin price end of year. But the report is also supposed to report the value of the collateral that is used. So in the simplest case, people will just use USDC as the collateral. So you just report one. But what if someone wants to use ETH as collateral, right? Then, yeah, you basically need this additional piece of information in order to determine how much is going to the reporter and how much is going to this access fee recipient, which is the Tellor treasury. So that was a pretty tricky part. And yeah, also big thanks to the Tellor team, Owen and Tim, especially, who help us to basically build a reporter for that particular.
Does that make sense to everyone here? Or like, sort of? I can explain it further if you guys want. Yeah, so I think like the basic thing is like if you were willing, let's say there was a Diva, which of course is going to happen, they're going to get enormous, and they're going to have like $1 billion pool over on Diva. And what's 5 pips on $1 billion pool? Like 500K or something like that. Let's say, let's say you're going to pay, or even 50,000. Let's say you're going to pay 50,000 to the next, whoever reports this Tellor value gets $50,000. Well, it actually creates a really bad incentive because so like, let's say Spuddy throws it up. Hell yeah, he's getting 50,000. I would actually want to dispute Spuddy and then submit, because I can dispute him for like $1,000 and then put my value up. And that's, even though his value was good, it leads to like weird incentives whenever the fee is so crazy, unnecessarily high. So that's why if Diva got too successful that their fees to the Oracle were unnecessarily high, you would, actually create like an issue in the Tellor system, as far as like it doesn't actually break anything in the Tellor system. Like no matter what, we're still putting good values up on chain. It's just like miners aren't acting, and there's like we want to like save people money, and you should, and then B, like you don't want this game to happen. So
yeah.
Anyway,
thanks a lot for explaining this.
Okay. Can I ask you some? We'll ask you a few questions more.
Yes.
Sound good? So I just have to ask. So derivatives and prediction markets have sort of been done in the past. What makes Diva? What's going to make Diva win?
Well, like in Diva prediction markets, as you know them, it's just one special case. As I mentioned, most prediction markets only offer you this this binary type of payoff all or nothing, which might not be a good fit for a lot of users. So Diva actually allows to adjust the payoff structure to your risk appetite. For instance, what you see a lot in traditional finance, especially in the structured products business, are the following types of payoff patterns. So one sec, like these combinations of binary and linear, right? So this is something that does not yet exist, and we at Diva can offer that and fill this gap. And also we don't impose any reference assets that you can use. We don't impose any collateral asset that you can use, and we don't impose any oracle that you can use. So we are working on integrating Tellor oracle and propose them to users but technically users can choose whatever they want. So it's super flexible. It's like the Uniswap for derivatives. You can create derivatives on whatever you want, including insurance products and as you said, mentioned prediction markets. And we'll just see what people come up with. And that's one part. So the flexibility, and also the other part is probably also our strategy. So how we want to grow Diva. So I think what you see with the existing prediction markets, they're more or less silos. So they build their application on top of their smart contracts, and they expect all users to use their application, like Polymarket, for instance. While our approach is more, okay, here you have the smart contracts, it's the engine to create these type of derivative products, build great front ends on top. So this Diva app that you find here, this is just the first implementation of an app, right? But you can build so many different things. Maybe you want to build an insurance platform on top with a focus on DeFi hack insurance, for instance, right? So also like the different types of strategies, I think that's what differentiates us from our competitors.
Cool. Awesome. Owen, how was integrating Diva? Owen and Tim.
It's good. We've had like calls every week with Vlad, and it's been great working with him. And I'm excited to get our reporters trying it out. Hopefully some people in our community will be excited to do that and whatnot. So
cool.
Yeah, I think we have now enough time also for testing that properly. I think that's important.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you so much for being a protocol that tries to properly test everything. You know, it's gonna make a difference in the long run for sure. You know, I know you've taken a long time to launch, but it's like definitely for anyone in your community, it's so worth it, and it's refreshing from like an Oracle perspective to have somebody who actually wants to think through these things so hard. So it's awesome. Yeah, anybody else have anything for Vlad?
No,
just let us know, let the audience know like where they can get involved, how they can find out more information about your incentivized testnet, where to find you.
Exactly. Thanks a lot. So as I mentioned during my presentation, we have launched testnet recently. So where users can earn a claim on the future Diva token that will launch and thereby become governors of the Diva protocol in the future. So basically how this works, so if you access the app diva.finance, you will see a few tasks that users are asked to complete. All are related to discovering the functionality of the Diva app. So basically, you as a user, you get familiar with the Diva app, and we will benefit from the feedback that we'll receive. So that's kind of like the setup. And yeah, so check that out. Every item here is linked to our docs, and it's also described how to create, say, binary options or options with a linear type of payout. And yeah, also here again, what are derivatives, basically what I just described. Also again in our documentation, what is Diva protocol, what is Diva app. So you find a lot of information in docs.divaprotocol.io. And yeah, if you want to read our testnet announcement, that's on our divaprotocol.io page. So right now it's more like a landing page. So you have basically everything you can access via this page. So you can access the app here by pressing this button. You can access the Gitbook here, and you can also read our testnet announcement, where you basically find all the details how to participate in the testnet.
Nice.
Super cool. Thanks. Yeah, we can't wait for you guys to launch, and I'm sure people in our community will hear from you more. So.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We shall talk to you guys all soon. See you.